Oh, welcome to Mamarama. Yeah, I probably shouldn't even be taping my show right now because I'm in a bad mood. Like, sometimes you have a bad hair day. I'm having a bad mom day. Or maybe I'm having a bad kid day. I'm just, you know, I'm just kind of like, sometimes I'm just at my wit's end. It's harder than you think it's going to be, It's weird because I was thinking about how, like, in the beginning, like when you have a baby, everything seems so difficult and complicated, and, each new challenge is like, it is really difficult, and you have sort of nothing to go by in your acquired knowledge. I mean, even if you read books or you did this or that, you're still like, oh my God, what do I do now? Is my baby teething? Is that why he's crying so much? I mean, all those like little things. What's my point? I'm just saying that, like, okay, so that's like, your first few years into parenthood are sort of caught up with, what it is? It's like you're in a sort of a constant state of crisis. It's like, your baby needs so much from you, and you're always like trying to meet those needs. And that feeling of helplessness, like you feel sort of helpless, and obviously you have a helpless baby who can't articulate what he or she needs. So anyway, then your kids get older, and it just gets like, it becomes like less about like, oh my God, does she have an earache, to, oh my God, is she turning into, an incorrigible brat, and I'm going to have, one of those like, foul-mouthed runaways on my hands that, you end up on like daytime television recruiting your kid into some kind of like obedience boot camp or something. I don't know. And it always comes down to bad parenting. Those parents can sit there and like be like, oh my God, poor me, look at my child, she tried to kill me in my sleep, and you're just like, well, what happened? Where did you go wrong? What happened to create such a monster? I was I don't usually watch those like nanny 911 shows and whatever. I just don't even like watch that much television, period. But as a result, I never see myself on television, so I kind of forget that my show is on. And that's why it's been really long between shows. But anyway, that's a digression. So I was watching one of those shows, and they're sort of like horrifying and fascinating at the same time, and they're just like, sorry, I got interrupted. Yeah, I don't have my remote today, so I can't do my in-camera editing, and that's kind of a pain. I'm sort of all thrown off today, but I'm going to persevere and keep taping. So, what was I talking about? Those nanny shows. I know I've talked about them before, and I said how, like, they're there's something to learn from watching them, yet I don't know, I feel like every parent kind of looks and is like, just sort of feels that they're not in that category or whatever. They sort of like see glimmers of themselves and perhaps their children in watching it, but taken to like such an extreme degree that you're able to sit back and be like, oh wow, that's not me, that kind of thing. But I don't know, I just like watching one in particular where I just saw this little girl like being so defiant, and like those difficult years, like before they become a teenager and into that teenage time, just seem, so incredibly challenging and difficult. And I just, occasionally I just feel like I'm not going to be up to the task. I don't know. Maybe I better do my reading. But I mean, is that like how we get our answers? Just kind of read about like how to how to react in a given situation. I mean, much of it comes from, there's the cat annoying me. Much of it comes from our own dysfunctions, the things that we, not just as parents, and that's kind of the interesting part, it's where we as, hang on a sec, it's too much. See, and I can't, our own foibles and our own inadequacies and, sort of disabilities and so forth, like in one of the ones that I was watching, the mother was being criticized for being a child herself. The way she dealt with her adolescent daughter was so juvenile, just, kind of treating her like, as though she was a teenager as well. Anyway, so it's all kind of depressing, because it's like you have to really, well, okay, I shouldn't, call it out as depressing, but it was difficult to watch, because you sort of feel like, like your own inadequacies are sort of like highlighted. I think that's kind of like what I'm getting at. I know I'm being very philosophical on today's show, because I'm really like thinking about just, the whole sort of like rigors of being a parent and what the enormous responsibility it is, the thing that you don't think about very much. I feel like so many people, when they go into, the excitement of like, wow, oh wow, we're going to get pregnant now, are not really like thinking ahead to like, do you understand like the enormity of what is about to happen to your life, and and all the challenges that will take, and how much, and how difficult it is for an individual to feel the sort of mirror being held to them by their children, because that's what kids do as they get older. They, just unconsciously show you who you are. You're sort of like faced with that, when you recognize these things in your kids, that you're suddenly like, wow, that was me. That is exactly me. And for better or worse, I shouldn't say that in so disparagingly, because, sometimes you'll see your kid do something that's really cool and be like, yeah, she got that chutzpah from me, or she has that confidence, or that, or, some admirable quality, you can go that way, and I suppose it's important to recognize those things in addition to the ugly things that you don't want to see. So what was I gonna say? I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about, and this, I just touched on this notion of like, like couples like going into like their first pregnancy and the excitement of having their first baby and so forth as being sort of ill-prepared.